Happy New Year, everyone. We've got two winter storms in the coming days, along with several pieces of Arctic air that will be plunging southbound. So let's take a look at the setup going forward and highlight these two winter storms that will be evolving. So the first one will be starting to set up shop Saturday and especially into Sunday as a powerful upper level low that will dive out of the Rockies and set up a pretty potent low pressure system across Oklahoma. And out ahead of it, you will be in the warm sector across portions of Texas into Louisiana. You'll have a lot of wind shear associated with a squall line that will likely develop into the afternoon, into the overnight time frame for those areas into southeast Texas, Louisiana, back into pieces of Arkansas, as well as into Mississippi. Yes, we could be looking at all three levels of severe storms and even possibly some QLCS type tornadoes into the overnight time frame. To the north of there in the cold sector, as that Arctic air plunges southbound with strong north winds, you'll have a significant winter storm likely start to develop across this region and shift eastbound. That will set the stage for heavy snow and ice, as well as a lot of sleet within that atmosphere. And then the second storm system will likely start to develop as we head into the middle of next week. We'll be trending down there towards Mexico as yet another upper level low that will look to develop and traverse across Texas and those areas across the southeast. That will start to bring some snow, even some southern snow for those areas across Texas, as well as into portions of the southeast by the middle of next week. So if you are new to the channel and like detailed weather breakdowns, hit the subscribe button and you're in. You get all my daily content on this channel. And I greatly appreciate each and every one of you that got me to 250,000 followers by the end of the year. Greatly appreciate each and every one of you, as I'm here pretty much on a daily basis doing daily breakdowns and keeping you well ahead of the storm. So this morning, here's the satellite picture. So we're pretty calm right now across the south. Not much happening right now. Everything's to the north. We do have some, higher winds across portions of the northeast, but we don't really locked into that Arctic air just yet. All eyes will be trending further north across the Yukon Territory and those areas that are across British Columbia as a piece of that Arctic air will start to surge southbound. So yeah, here's the setup this afternoon. Across the west, you're still within that warm sector across this region. The first initiation of some of that Arctic air will start to develop and start to plunge southbound. And this is where our first storm system will start to take shape, especially as we head to the days on Saturday and getting into Sunday. So as we head into Sunday, there is your significant upper level low that will likely start to take shape across Oklahoma and portions of Kansas. To the south of there, you will be in that warm sector, and that's where we're looking at for severe storms to start to break out. And then our significant winter storm will likely start to unfold with very heavy snow, ice, and significant problems with tree damage. Could be even start to unfold. Even a crippling ice storm is definitely not out of the question, especially as we get deeper during the day on Sunday as more of that Arctic air starts to come in. So going into the afternoon on Sunday, it kind of looks like this. We'll have that first impulse of that Arctic air mass plunging southbound, rapidly falling temperatures during the day. And then the warm sector as we head into the afternoon further south into southeast Texas, Louisiana, and Arkansas. That's where we could be looking at all three modes of severe storms. And the Storm Prediction Center has already highlighted that slight risk. We're still 4 days out from this, guys. Already highlighted this, across southeast Texas, back into Arkansas, those areas into Shreveport, down to Lake Charles, swinging over to the Jackson, Mississippi region, eventually start heading into portions of Alabama, the deeper into the nighttime. But you can see where the warm front, the warm surge that will be trying to surge further south to the north, all the way up into Memphis, you could be looking at some severe storms, especially in the evening time frame. But to the north, there's the upper level low that will be starting to deepen across areas of Oklahoma. Just to the northwest of there, that's where the snow will be flying, coming out of Montana through the Wyoming region back into Colorado. Pretty healthy snow amounts back into South Dakota, getting down into Nebraska. Those tight isobars really start to tighten up, especially closer to that upper level low you get. You got the warm south wind surging from the south. You got the Arctic dense shallow air will sink to the surface, falling into that warm sector. That's why we do have that freezing rain that will likely freeze on contact for those areas into southern portions of Kansas, especially into Missouri. Unfortunately, Missouri just looks to be nailed with this system. The entire state gets inundated with this winter storm. Heavy snow to the north. You're looking at possibly 1 to 2 inch per hour snowfall rates. And then, unfortunately, a significant ice storm looks to unfold across portions of Missouri, southern Illinois, back into Indiana, and getting into Kentucky. Further south, you can see the green. That is all your rain and some of the severe storms that will likely unfold. I think this originates in southeast Texas, comes into portions of Arkansas, but especially into Louisiana, getting into Mississippi, and then yes, it does creep as far north for those areas of into the Memphis region. But we could be looking at some significant snow start to break out across portions of the Ohio Valley, and that going into Monday morning just keeps swinging eastbound, likely changing over from that ice to all snow there into Kentucky, back into Ohio, as well as into West Virginia. This starts to creep into Pennsylvania by then, New Jersey, back into those areas of Delaware. Further south, you've got all the green. That's in the warmer sector with all the rain. And you can see this red line here. That is your freezing line as that Arctic air plunges all the way down to the deep south, seeing the coldest temperatures so far they've seen so far this winter with the first initial piece of that Arctic air. And they will be looking at some more significant winds that will be coming in from the north. Of course, right where the center is, where that upper level low starts to take shape and those tighter isobars, we could be looking at more of the significant wind gust of 50, 60 miles an hour, easily not out of the question. Closer into the 40 mile per hour range where you see more of the greens start showing up. But it's just going to be extremely windy, especially with that squall line that will be moving through into the overnight hours for portions of the southeast. But overall, as this slingshots eastbound, the winds will still be cranking along that corridor. There's the feels like temperatures as that first initial blast of that Arctic air, and you're going to be feeling this in a big way as you wake up on Monday morning. You got widespread areas across the north, well below zero feels like, approaching the 20 below zero feels like in Nebraska, getting down into Kansas, single digits as far south as Oklahoma, 15 in Dallas feels like. So you're definitely going to be feeling this Arctic air and that first initial surge of that Arctic air. And of course, you'll be even colder where those areas that do get the snow. So let's talk about the snow and some of the totals that you could actually see over the coming days. So we'll have that initial system that will be coming in from the northwest, diving southeast, will be blanket of snow across the Intermountain West. And then we'll have a pretty significant upper level low that will likely develop in Oklahoma. And just to the north of there, that's where you're likely to see a pretty good significant snow swath of easily 8 to 12 inches right within this corridor. And then you'll have a snow setup to the north, and then you'll have more of an ice storm, unfortunately, a little bit further off to the south. So if we look at the setup, it kind of looks like this as we head into, during the day on Sunday of all the sleet. So unfortunately, where you're not getting the snow, you're going to get a blanket of sleet on the ground across Kansas, through Missouri, back into southern Illinois, through Kentucky. It just looks nasty during the day on Sunday into Monday. And the more significant ice storm will likely unfold just for those areas just a tad bit further south. So we could be looking at a pretty significant winter storm. And some of these ice accretions could approach 1 inch, folks. Yes, anytime you get over 3/4 of an inch, you're talking crippling ice, widespread power outages, just a dangerous type setup starting to unfold on Sunday, and that will bleed into Monday. So we've got a pretty significant winter storm that will likely start to take shape, especially as we head deeper into the day on Sunday, getting into Monday. But then our second system that will be coming through. So we'll have another impulse of Arctic air. Now that one's going to be a little bit trickier further south. So you'll have a renewed blanket of snow across this region that second piece of Arctic air has to traverse over. So that air mass will likely kind of get less modified as it pushes further south. So it'll be a little bit colder than what it could be without that little snowpack to the north, that newly fresh snowpack. So that's going to be significant, especially, you know, as we head into the middle of next week on Wednesday, as we'll be looking at down there in Mexico as our newly developed, a new disturbance will likely come out of Mexico down there in southwest of Texas. That's going to run into that newly impulse of Arctic air by then, and that could cause their own overrunning type setup. So there is a low pressure center that will likely start to develop down there in southwest Mexico that will cause the lift, the upward rising motion that's needed to produce some showers that will likely form into that will fall into that freezing air mass, and likely be some snow across portions of Texas. Now the exact placement's a little bit uncertain because obviously this is the second system we're getting into. This doesn't start until Wednesday, but it does appear we'll have at least some winter weather across the deep south, you know, as we head into the middle of next week with that powerful system that will be coming across. So we could be looking at their own blanket of snow across the south through portions of Texas. They could be looking at their own ice across areas of Texas, getting into Louisiana. This is during the day on Thursday. This would be next Thursday, January the 9th timeframe, and that continues to shift eastbound, dumping some snow across Mississippi, Alabama, getting into Georgia, through areas of Tennessee, continuing by then. So they'll have their own ice as well they're going to be dealing with. So not severe. So you'll start off with severe with the first system, and then some of the second system that comes in the middle of next week, that could be some wintry possibilities for even those areas across the south. And the Climate Prediction Center is highlighting that risk. So they do in fact have a slight risk of some heavy snows start to break out over portions of Texas, highlighting that more significant upper level low that will be developing on that second system by midweek. This would be Wednesday heading into Thursday timeframe, going into Friday timeframe. Could be looking at some snow across Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, back into Mississippi, into Alabama, as those areas into Georgia. And that will also swing up into the Carolinas as well. You'll have more snow as well through portions of West Virginia, Pennsylvania, and upstate New York. And then you'll give another surge of Arctic air, that third wave of piece of energy that will be diving out of Canada. That will bring a renewed threat to some more heavy snow across the Dakotas and back into Nebraska by then, as that colder plunge will be continuing to plunge southbound. This would be likely your third wave of some of that Arctic air be coming in pulses. But that wave will likely be highlighted across the east, especially those areas across the southeast, and that will continue to likely dive into Florida as we head into next weekend. So guys, I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video, definitely hit the subscribe button, and catch me next update. Why I protect you before and after the storm.